Everyone, calling to order the Planning and Zoning Committee meeting for June 13th, 2023. It is currently 6:30 p.m. and I am Councilwoman Darian Martin, your chairperson for this meeting. We're going to go through the agenda. First thing is our solemn meditation and pledge. If you can stand and join me for that, that would be great. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk, can I have the roll call? Present.
Vice Chair Perrella. Member Nickerson.
Here.
Member Lightfoot Ward will not be in tonight, and Member Erbom is not shown yet. Also present for the record, Janice Jacoby, Village Clerk, is Thea Liu, Village Manager.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right, let's move on to subsection D, which is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved, Madam Chair.
All in favor say aye. Oh, sorry, second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. We will move on to approval of the minutes. We're approving the minutes of the February 8th, 2023 Planning and Zoning Committee meeting. Do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
Approve that, Madam Chair.
A second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. All right, hearing none, I will move on to subsection F, which is good and welfare. At this point, anyone in the audience can step up to the podium and speak for 3 minutes about anything that currently appears on this agenda. When you step up to the podium, I ask that you give your name and your address. So if anyone wants to take advantage of this first good and welfare, you can go ahead and step up to the podium. All right, seeing none, I will go ahead and move on to subsection G, which is the actual agenda items. If I can have Scarlett step up to the podium, that would be great. Madam Clerk, does anyone need to be sworn in or? Okay. Perfect. All right, first item on the subsection G is G1, 205 Northeast 87th Street. Can I have the applicant step up to the podium to my right, please? Thank you so much. And can our representative give us the report?
Good evening. Scarlett Hammonds with the Cordino Group. This evening, your first application is an application by the Sanctuary Village LLC. They are requesting a site plan approval to repurpose and revitalize the existing building located at 205 Northeast 87th Street. This is for a commercial use for a food service establishment, retail, and office space. And they are also asking for a special exception approval for serving alcohol within the restaurants. The existing structure was built in 1952 with an area of 30,431 square feet and was previously used as a religious facility. The property is 87,713 square feet, and that's just over 2 acres in size. The building is currently vacant. The proposed project would consist of office space as the largest use, which is 11,329 square feet, retail consisting of 7,131 square feet, and 2 restaurants, which would total 7,584 square feet. Based on the site development standards, the project will meet all of the criteria of the code, and they are not requesting any variances at this time. Based on the requirements of the code, the proposed restaurant will be within 300 feet of a daycare facility, and therefore a special exception approval is requested. The staff has reviewed the special exception criteria and found that this application complies with the standards, and the village will limit the hours of operation for establishments serving alcohol. And it should be noted that also the alcohol is ancillary to food service, which will be the primary use for the restaurants. Therefore, staff's recommendation at this time is for approval of this site plan and also for the special exception for the sale of alcohol within the restaurants. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Scarlett. And I'm assuming by the monitors that the representatives from Village Plaza would like to give a short presentation on this item.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You can proceed.
Madam Chair, Mayor, Councilperson, David Coviello with law offices at 200 South Biscayne Boulevard. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, and we would just like to give you a brief presentation. I have a few slides to go through, and then I'm going to have our architect come up and go through the actual site plan
Sure.
and walk you through that. So if you turn to the next slide. I think it goes without saying you're all familiar with this property. This is the former Methodist Church and School, which has been vacant for over 15 years, east of Northeast 2nd Avenue between 87th Street and 88th Street. Next slide, please. What we're seeking here is an adaptive reuse. And I think that's an important point to start with. From the start, our client has really focused on being sensitive to the balance between protecting the character of the village, which is unique, with the goals and the vision of activating Northeast 2nd Avenue. So we feel like this project really achieves that balance in a perfect way. So if you look on the left-hand side, you have the existing building, which was built in 1952, a two-story building, roughly 30,000 square feet. And if you look on the right-hand column, again, we're adaptively reusing the building. It's going to remain as a two-story building, which is consistent with the neighborhood. And you see there the mix of uses within the project, office, retail, as alluded to by staff. There are 2 restaurants as well as surface parking. All of these uses are consistent with the village's vision for Main Street, and all the uses are permitted under your zoning code. Next slide, please. So before you are 2 requests. Number 1, there's a site plan approval. As staff said, the project complies with the permitted uses and all the development standards in your zoning code. We are fully within the confines of zoning, and that was important for our client. In fact, we're substantially less than the floor area that would be permitted under zoning. I think it's roughly 100,000 square feet would be permitted under zoning, and we're, again, keeping the same building size at roughly 26,000 square feet. We're not asking for any variances. Request number 2 is a special exception. Although restaurants and alcohol sales in particular are permitted as of right, because Ms. Claudia's child care facility or school is within 300 feet, we have to come before you for a special exception. We did a distance survey, and that is the only facility that's located within 300 feet. Next slide. I won't spend a lot of time on the review criteria. We'll certainly go through that at the public hearing, but it's important to just go through a few of these items. Again, the criteria is analyzed in the staff report and our letter of intent, and we fully comply with all those standards. Your professional staff is recommending approval of both the site plan and the special exception, and the project is consistent with the many policies of your comprehensive plan dealing with Northeast 2nd Avenue, including the 2 I outlined here regarding encouraging mixed-use walkable development with a broad range of office and commercial uses. We feel that the project fits that bill and clearly furthers those policies. Next slide. In my view, there's really 2 key considerations here. First, compatibility. Again, we're maintaining that special balance between protecting the neighborhood while activating Northeast 2nd Avenue. We're adaptively reusing the existing building, thereby, the massing is really consistent and remains consistent with the character of the neighborhood. We have sufficient parking on site to prevent spillage into the neighborhood, and the traffic impacts have been fully analyzed. Our traffic consultant's here to answer any questions should you have them. The second part of this is on the public benefit side. Again, we're repurposing an otherwise vacant property, which has been vacant for some time. And it's quite frankly a real visible property in the village. And so the idea that we would repurpose the building and develop it with some active uses, I think, is a public benefit. This also would serve as a potential catalyst for future development along the Northeast 2nd Avenue corridor. And the next 2 items I know have been an important focus of the village, converting from septic to sewer. We're converting this particular property to sewer through a privately funded pump station. And then obviously this property would generate additional tax revenues for the village. Next slide. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Eric Myers, our architect, to walk through the site plan and the project. I think you'll agree after seeing it that Eric and his team really did a tremendous job with the design of this project. And then after that, if you have any questions, we're happy to answer them. Thank you.
Awesome.
Hi, Eric Myers with ELM, 8950 Southwest 74th Court, Miami. So working on the project, we were pleased to work closely with the Village of El Portal, with the Planning and Zoning Department and all staff to make sure the design met the codes and the criteria we previously discussed. As it was mentioned, it was our goal to keep the size and nature of the facility that's existing there, but to update and modernize the facility for the future uses. It was mentioned the ground floor will actually become retail and restaurant, while the second floor will become the office space. As far as the building, there's going to be more openings for glass to go with those use. The design of the building is to take in some green concepts, so when it comes to the glass, we'll have impact glass that's insulated, it'll have low E to bring the heat load down within the building to keep energy costs down. When designing the parking lot, we kept almost I think all but one tree that was on the site. It was important. So if you look at the site plan, there's larger landscape islands that you would typically see in other neighborhoods where a development would be made to maintain those trees, and it also keeps down the heat island effect of having too much asphalt. So we kept a lot of green there on the site. And if you look at the rendering, I don't want it to be misleading. We are architects. We removed a lot of the trees in the front so you can actually see the building. So when you look at the site plan, you'll see the trees that actually will be there. When you get inside the building, there will be more green principles about energy efficiency, whether it's the lighting that'll be LED, plumbing fixtures that'll be low flow in use. So it's really the idea of the building itself is to be modernized and green in principle. And then when you look at the site plan, going from east to west, we kept the parking lot where it is, except, again, adding some green to there. And then really important to us was the west side of the property, where I know it's the village's intent to have the Main Street pedestrian bicycle access. And so you can see on the site plan where we added a quite large open plaza in the front that can be held for public events. If there was going to be a farmer's market or other elements, or an art show, it could be open to a public space that can work off the main street. So although it is a private piece of land, it could be something that could be shared with the village. So it's really our intent to work within the village's master plan. But that's a brief statement.
Thank you so much. Usually I would open it up to the audience and then kick it back to my colleagues, but I think we'll do it a little differently today, just because we have you at the podium. Does any of the committee members have any questions for either the applicant or for Scarlett from the Cordino Group at this time?
Not necessarily. I just want to say that, if you just make sure you guys reach out to former Mayor Cabillos for Ms. Claudia's daycare.
Yes, Mayor, we planned on doing that.
Yeah, I spoke to her for the past couple of days, so just make sure you guys do that.
Yes.
And I did have a follow-up question for Scarlett. You said that the time within which alcohol can be served at this facility would be limited. What would be those hours?
Oh, sure. Just let me check the report real quick. Monday through Saturday between the hours of 9 a.m. and 12 a.m. the following day, and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. the following day.
Okay. That's what we're hearing. And then another question that I have for the applicant is, I know that the parking lot abuts, I think, a few houses. What are we doing to make sure that whatever parking is happening there, activities are happening there, are not necessarily as least invasive as possible to those residences?
I'll go point out in a second. The east side of the property line, which comes down, crosses over, and goes down, there will be 6-foot high masonry wall in
Okay.
between the parking lot. So
I like that. I like the pointing. Awesome. Okay. Thank you for that. Those are two questions that I have. I'm seeing that I'm not hearing any additional questions from my colleagues. Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah, I just want to point out, you guys might want to expand on that you guys have been in contact with the neighbors on on both sides, because both the neighbors have spoken to myself and the village manager, and they were happy that, and they appreciate that you guys were in contact with them. I want to also point out that the hours of alcohol, when I was vice mayor, before I was mayor, we went through that because there was another company and project that you guys remember that was going to be there for years that ended up not, coming to fruition. And that's when we created those hours. And the reason why, and I remember the meeting because I was sitting there and everybody was laughing at me because I've never tasted alcohol in my life. Wine, beer, wine. I've never tasted alcohol. But I'm weird. I've never tasted coffee either, right? So I'm a weird person. But I remember sitting there and I was like, well, why does it have to begin? I remember sitting there and asking them, the rest of the council members at that time, why does it have to begin so early? And I was educated, Madam Chair, because they were saying, well, Mayor, if you would drink, you would understand that they have Sunday brunch mimosas and stuff like that. So I said, I have no idea what you guys are talking about, but I guess, and that's how that stuff kind of went through as far as the weekend and how the weekend hours with drinking kind of got set up, just to give you guys the history lesson on how that happened.
9 a.m. is a pretty early brunch, but I'll go ahead and thank you so much to the applicant and to Scarlett. I'm going to open it up if anyone in the audience has questions or comments, but that would mean that you guys would probably need to step down from the podium so that they could step up to the podium. Once you do step, I think we need to be sworn in. Yes, thank you so much. If you could do that for me, please.
Thank you. For those, including those who just did speak, but if anyone who's going to give testimony tonight, would please stand and raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, and state your name, do hereby solemnly swear that the testimony I will give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God, or you may take an affirmation. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, does anyone have a comment from the audience about this project? Please step up to the podium. Once you do step up to the podium, please bless us with your name and your address for the record. Thank you so much. Here? Yes, right, the podium, right behind that mic. There you go. And then speak into the mic with your name and your address, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm Edna Edelman. I live at 301 Northeast 88th Street. I guess my concern is twofold. One, the noise in the parking lot, which is facing residential housing, obviously. And the other one is the two entrances on Northeast 88th Street. Northeast 88th is one of the narrowest, if not the narrowest street in El Portal. I mean, I just don't see how it can handle traffic coming into it. So one of the things that I'd like to propose is that coming out of the parking lot, you can only make a left turn onto Northeast 2nd, rather than coming down 88th Street.
Okay, thank you so much for that comment. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this item? I second. Would you like to, if you would like to make a comment, you have to speak up at the podium and not from the audience. And name and address for the record, please.
Hi, my name is Anna Gutierrez. I live on 355 Northeast 88th, and I second that proposal to have traffic go left towards Northeast, or towards 2nd.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, please step up to the podium.
Mark Edelman, 301 Northeast 88th. So the thing is, we're talking, it's a nice project, but it's backing up to a very dense residential neighborhood. Now, this is facing Northeast 2nd. I live on Northeast 3rd. The back of that project can't be more than 400 feet from my house. So it's tight. And I am concerned about two things, noise and traffic. If you've got people in there drinking, I must say, when I'm drinking, I get loud. And people are going to spill out of that place, and they're going to be in the parking lot. And I think definitely anybody exiting that property should be forced to turn left onto 88th to Northeast 2nd. or they can go left or right or whatever they want to do. But Northeast 88th cannot take two-way traffic. It's 1.5 at best. So I'm really hoping that that street does not bear the burden of that kind of traffic. Otherwise, how much in property tax is this thing going to pay? Do you know?
We
Oh.
don't know yet.
Okay. But it's already paying property taxes, right?
But not developed.
No, it's vacant now.
Joe's pay taxes on the property itself, but whatever they pay for the property, $7 million, that's based on.
Yeah, but
whatever
they're
they pay.
paying 40 or 50 now, aren't you?
Sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I mean, if it was previously a church, it should be exempt from taxes, so.
No, but it's, I'll look it up. I can.
Thank you so much. There's another comment. If you could step up to the podium.
Hi,
Hi.
my name is Marcela Siegel. I am at the corner of 8780 Northeast 88th, 2nd Avenue. And I'm so happy that it's finally happening. So I'm about to open a business also. And I want to take the opportunity because we need the influx of people and people need to park. So I've been a little concerned about, the parking on 88th next to my property. If I have more square footage, I have to add parking spaces, but if I don't, anyways, it belongs to the people. It's public parking, right? So what I'm asking today is that if there's any possibility of adding pay by phone, at least on the, on the adjacent streets, not maybe on the avenue. I don't know how that works, but I know that Miami Shores has it, other cities have it. And I think it's so important for the businesses to have the possibility of thriving, because people need to park to stop and get out and come to us. So, and if we can share the parking, I will rent it from you if I can too. Seriously. So, that's my.
Your suggestion.
Yeah, because
Definitely
right
noted.
now, I notice that people park their extra cars there. So then I don't have access to the parking. And if it's paid by phone, it's for everybody. So if I get customers, or I have to park, or other people have to park, they pay, but they won't stay all night, all day.
I get it. I
Yeah.
get it for sure.
Thank you.
No worries.
All right.
One sec. So I'm gonna compile all of the suggestions. We'll just get it all in one chunk, and then you can opine on those. Please step up to the podium.
Good afternoon. My name is Joaquin Pineros. I live at 440 Northwest 90th Street. I just wanted to know how security is going to be handled around the premises. Is the builder planning to have any type of security systems, cameras, or on-site security? And what would be the construction timeline for this type of project?
Okay. So we'll grab those two questions, and then if anyone else has a comment, you can step up to the podium and state your name and address for the record.
Nancy Dawson, and 315 Northeast 89th. That's not where I live. In addition to what Mark was saying, I think that the village needs to be proactive ahead of issues like noise ordinances, the noise, the protection of the people. If there's something rowdy going on that shouldn't really, the burden shouldn't fall on homeowners to have to call police. I think to have extra police there, to have it, the neighborhood secured, because with everything comes noise, it comes garbage collection, it comes people leaving a place, throwing whatever's out their car, throwing it onto people's yards. I mean, a lot of people bring what people do, and it doesn't seem right if the village doesn't come way ahead of this and prepare for this to the taxpayers' benefit.
Definitely noted. And noise and trash, those are issues that we're actively trying to ramp up. Enforcement,
police,
all,
yeah.
all of the above. Those are things that we are actively trying to ramp up and to find solutions for. And this is part of what's contemplated.
Right. But
is
in
that increased
addition,
presence.
in addition to trying, though, isn't there something that says you need a certain amount of police on the street based on the certain number of people? And I mean, isn't this quantifiable? Does it have to wait till it becomes a problem? Can't they?
No, we're definitely not waiting until it becomes a problem. Our police chief understands that there will be an increased presence of people and people parking and interacting, and he has to make the decision as far as how he's going to deploy his officers in contemplation of that. So these are all things that are currently being thought of way before like Village Plaza comes online. So I want to reassure you that we're not just kind of waiting in the back and hoping and seeing what happens. Like there is forethought going into this as far as how will this change, or hopefully not change the way that we're used to enjoying the village.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Is there another comment? Okay, hearing. Here you go. Seeing there's one more. State your name and address again for me, please.
Hi, I'm Anna Gutierrez, 355 Northeast 88th. And something I just wanted to get greater clarity, in addition to thinking about this beautiful, new business coming to our streets, I'm curious to know, has there been conversation around considering just general one-way traffic enforcement on 88th or 87th, in addition to possibly lighting? Since right now there's only, at least I could speak on 87th, there's only one public light. With additional traffic, additional movement, especially myself at night when I walk my dog, it would be additional reassurance and security if that's something that could be considered by the greater team here.
Okay, thank you so much. That's definitely noted. I think what I'm going to do is I think that we are done with comments from the audience. If I can have the applicant step back up, and I don't know if you guys have been writing it down, but I'll generally just let you know what we just want some information on. How will security be addressed with the increased usage of the area? Is that within your purview to talk about whether or not there can be some sort of left turn only sign into Northeast 2nd and your timeline for completion as well?
Let me hit on a couple.
Yep, go ahead.
So in terms of construction, we anticipate end of 2024 as for an approximate timeline. In terms of the noise, I completely understand the concerns raised by the residents. I think what we've done is, obviously the 6-foot wall, masonry wall, will help with not only the lighting from the cars, but also the noise in the parking lot of cars leaving. But if you look at the building, it really lends itself to, it's sort of an L-shaped building, and the way this has been designed is to sort of have all the active uses and the restaurant spaces face 2nd Avenue. So the activity and the majority of the people would be gathered facing 2nd Avenue, and it's sort of naturally shielded by the building. In terms of the left turn off of 88th Street, Eric can speak to that, but we also have our traffic consultant here, I think Suzanne Danielson. So if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to have her
That
come
would
up.
be great.
Yeah, just
If
to
you
give her
could-
her thoughts on
Perfect.
that. And then Eric can speak on the security measures.
Perfect.
I'll talk about the security first. So, obviously we're still in the planning stages, so implementation will follow. But we've been discussing with the owner about installing security cameras around the site. With the luxury of having light poles in the parking lot that'll illuminate it, it also gives you an opportunity to place a camera up high so you can have an eye in the sky essentially watching over the property. And then on the front area where we have that large courtyard in the front, we've been talking about, there's a company that makes, it's a light post that goes vertical. It has a 360 camera for view, and then it also has a push button, a security push button that will have a call box that can be wired in to call for security help. So as far as security, I don't know if it'll be manned security as far as the site, but there will be a digital eye in the sky in the property. I know trash was mentioned. We've proposed trash containers, receptacles for recycling and for trash, and one would have an ashtray on top that'll be placed throughout the site. And then also, with it being a business, there are 4 dumpsters planned to be on the site. They're screened right now with a screen wall, and then 2 of them for the restaurant use are actually going to have a roof and be conditioned. Restaurant trash may at times, if it's left in an open dumpster, has an odor to it, but when it's enclosed and roofed and air conditioned, it's concealed within the space. So the 2 dumpsters that'll be used for the restaurant use will be in that manner. So that's just areas where the trash can be kept. The traffic consultant can talk about the turning lanes and access on the street.
Thank you so much. Could you step up and give me your name and address for the record?
Yes, Suzanne Danielson, Danielson Consulting Engineers. We're in Coral Springs, Florida.
Thank you.
You know, onto 88th, the only driveway that would be affected by the one-way would be that the western driveway that's going to be one-way exiting. It's so close to the intersection with Second Avenue that the western driveway could not be a one-way exiting to the left. The current striping wouldn't allow it. The other driveway, right, the one he's showing, the eastern driveway, though, we expect anyone exiting there to go to Second Avenue. To distribute the project traffic, we'll use the county's model, and it does not anticipate anyone actually going into the neighborhood on 88th. But because of the restrictions and the closeness of that western driveway to Second Avenue, it would have to operate as an outbound right only.
So you're saying, based on county regulations, you couldn't have that left turn only sign, but you're anticipating that most of the people leaving there would be headed in that direction anyways.
Yeah, it's much more convenient to use 87th Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, clearly because you have a traffic signal and it's just more convenient. But the physical restrictions of the site would prohibit the western driveway on 88th from being a left turn out. It's too close to the intersection.
Okay.
The other driveways, it would be fine.
Councilor Barella?
And yes, and something to that effect. Remember that there's actually in plans and our urban planner, Preservia, had actually made a comp plan that contemplates one-ways throughout the village, and that 88 was one of them, actually. Try to make it to, because it's a narrow street, like you guys were saying. So that is something that has to be the municipality or the city that with the traffic studies and all of that.
What did they envision one way, which way? Eastbound or westbound? Do you know?
Westbound.
Westbound.
Yes. And that's in the, future plans.
And I don't think that would hurt this site. I mean, it is a very narrow road.
Right, yes.
I agree with you 100%. I think the attraction is going to be more toward 87th Street because of the traffic signal with Second Avenue.
Now, I do have a suggestion, and what the gentleman there spoke about noise and people going to, get to the parking lot to get their, into their cars and probably, stay there for a little while. The parking that's closer to the fence on towards 88, would you guys designate those parkings for employees so you don't have people actually standing on those, in that road or in that lane? For example, here.
Yeah, which locations?
This right here, so which is closer to the residential houses. I know there's a house right over here, so make something that's.
I mean, we can review that with the owner as an idea. I mean, obviously, when you have a property like that, you would want your employees to park in the furthest away spaces so the people that are coming and going don't have to walk as far. So that's something that we can discuss. One other thing about parking that I wanted to mention about the business, we are, as part of the proposal, we are creating parking spots north and south of the site. So there'll be 8 parking spaces on 87th and 88th that would be pay by phone. That would be for anybody's use. So. Those are coming out of the grass area, so it's not going to be pushing out into the existing street, but we're cutting the landscaping back towards the sidewalk, so there would be parking spaces up against the curb, up against the sidewalk.
Thank you so much for addressing that. That was the one that I was going to, I like to admit what I don't know, and I was going to ask how do you designate that? But yes, that's great. It's great to know.
Yep.
And I also love that idea about those being employee parking spaces, because I think, I mean, it doesn't cure the issue entirely, but definitely helps. I know that we had one more question or comment from the young. Would you like to comment? I understand the struggle. I have a small one as well. And it's fine if you bring her up to the podium with you. That's A-okay. Yeah, we've all heard babies coo, and that's fine. No, you just, okay. All right, so with that being said, I do want to open it back up to my colleagues just to see if anyone else has some final questions or comments about this item. Hearing none, I would go ahead and move whether or not we are willing to accept staff's recommendation to approve this project.
I'll move for approval, Madam Chair.
What we're doing right now is just approving it to push it to the big council meeting where all of the council members are going to be present. So at that time we can, but in addition, if you want to go ahead and make a comment on the parking, that's fine. We have a motion on the floor, but we can table it for now, have you come up to the podium, and you can go ahead and make the comment that you would like to make on the item. Just go ahead and restate your name and address for me, please.
Okay. Edna Edelman, 301 Northeast 88th. This is the first time I've heard about the on-street parking, and I have to say, that's really concerning. I mean, we're talking about the narrowest street in El Portal, and we're taking green space and creating parking spaces out of it. And it kind of brings Joni Mitchell to mind. But I find that really unacceptable.
One second, so we can hear you. You could definitely come up after you make your comment.
So, I mean, where are these people are parking, for what purpose, and where are they going? I mean, we're talking about one of the narrowest streets in El Portal, and we're taking green space and turning it into parking spaces. I mean, again, unacceptable, and obviously raising the noise level as these people are gonna park in the street. They're not going to be behind a wall. They're not going to be behind a green screen. They're gonna be on the street next to our houses. So I find that really concerning.
Noted. Does anyone else have a comment? Sir? No? Okay. All right. So I definitely am taking in all of the information that you guys are giving me. But in addition to that, I think the greater vision of like what this is turning into requires there to be some sort of contemplation for people to be able to park and move freely along what is envisioned to be a more active Northeast Second with varied uses, some to include office space and entertainment venues like this. So I understand the trepidation of that parking lot, and I'm willing to, discuss it further as far as, whether or not it's necessary or desirable in the bigger council meeting, but I do understand your concern on that. With that being said, and hearing no additional comments, Mr. Mayor.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Sure.
Maybe you guys can come up and talk about your parking on 87th Street and how many spaces compared to your parking on 88th Street, how many spaces, and talk about on 88th Street with the green space that you're going to be removing. Are any trees going to be removed, first of all? And are any additional trees going to be planted on the property for any green space that you're removing?
So for the first question, we're not removing any trees. There are 3 parking spaces that are going to be added on 88th, and there would be 5 that are on 87th. Part of doing the parking, these aren't parking spaces that are required for our parking count, but in meeting with zoning and working with the city and with the future master plan, we were actually asked to enhance the streets and the vision of making this main street and having additional public parking. So although the parking spaces could be used for our site because they're paid by phone, it could be used by anybody, so not specifically attributed. The second thing that we're doing, and again, it's outside of the property line, so it's not a requirement of the owner, but the sidewalks that abut the parking space that we're putting in there currently don't meet ADA. They're cracks. The roots of the trees are breaking up the sidewalks. So part of this is to revitalize and create a continuous sidewalk that somebody can walk down, that anybody can walk down with accessibility. We are adding landscape within our property line where, you know, where we can and to meet the code and have the lush landscaping that's expected in El Portal. And I believe, you know, although we are taking some green away, I think the addition of accessible parking for this main street, for, not just for this site, for all of El Portal, I think is, I mean, obviously there's the measure, some people would like it and some don't, but I think it's an overall benefit to have the ability to park.
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, I remember I was in a meeting with you all have the right to put additional parking spaces within the parking area of your property. And what ended up happening was, when you were in a meeting with myself, you guys had the right to actually knock down multiple trees and large,
correct,
aged trees on that property. And when we asked you not to do that, because you'll be knocking down a large number of trees on that property that have been there for many decades, you guys tried to find a way to make up for that additional parking you guys could have legally done. And we would have had no say about that, knocking down those trees, and that's when you guys came up with the parking on the streets.
That's correct. And when you look at most developments throughout South Florida, erasing trees for parking seems to happen a lot. And you have 5 feet medians in between the parking spaces where the roots break them. And if you look in the top right of that rendering where there's, in the lot that's off to the side near the residences, there's 2 rather large landscape areas that could easily be about 10 more parking spaces that are large specimen trees that are remaining. And we have the same where it abuts Second, where there's another one that could have been 3 parking spaces, but we salvaged a tree. And similarly, in the bottom right, the southeast corner, there's, along the entry, there's a very large landscape area. So we sacrificed a lot of parking spaces to maintain green and trees on the site and not just turn it into an entire parking lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. With that being said, I know that I made the motion, but was there a second to accept staff's recommendation on this?
Yeah, motion, Madam Chair.
Awesome. Can I have a roll call, please, Madam Clerk? The mayor. I made the. Oh, he made
I'll
the
second.
motion. Okay.
Member
Yes.
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 Passes 3-0.
Thank you so much. We will move on to agenda item.
Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome. We'll move on to item G2. Can I have the applicant for 188 Northwest 89th Street step up to the podium, please, and state your name and address for the record?
Hello. Good evening, Junior Harville, 188 Northwest 89th Street.
Awesome. Welcome. Can I go ahead and get Scarlett from the Corradino Group to give us staff's recommendations on this item?
Yes, thank you. This applicant is El Portal LLC, and they're requesting a site plan approval for the addition to a residence located at 188 Northwest 89th Street. This property is 9,292 square feet in size, and it previously contained a house that was 1,260 square feet, one story, which was built in 1943. This actually was a remodel that was done without planning approval. Working without a permit to create an addition of 1,508 square feet to this house. The addition includes a rear patio, a bathroom, a laundry room, and an additional AC unit. The home addition was reviewed by planning against the development standards within the code, and it was found that at this time there's not currently sufficient information provided by the applicant to determine a number of critical things, such as the base flood elevation and the overall green space that's required to be met. The applicant did submit for this application for the addition, but it was also noted that in addition to adding on to the home, there is a new pool that has been built and also a driveway, and it is not clear at this time if the applicant has even a building permit for the new driveway. And it's It's recommended at this time that the applicant turn in an updated site plan and survey that include all of these improvements on the property, and that the site data table is updated so that we know all of the details of open space and pervious and all that. And we also need to know the base flood elevation for this addition. So at this time, it is staff's recommendation that this application be denied.
Could you just repeat the final recommendation for me, please?
Yes. So the applicant is requested to update their site plan and their survey, and that it should include all of the improvements that are on the property, which we do not have that information as of right now. And we also need an updated site data table that would include all of the information about green space, open space, pervious coverage, so that we can do a proper evaluation. And so at this time, there's just not sufficient information for us to recommend approval, so it's recommended that it's denied at this.
Okay,
this
and I'm going to kick it over to the village's attorney on this item.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and that's certainly within your purview to do. If, on the other hand, staff is saying that they think that the shortcomings can be cured by the provision of additional information, you can deny it now and ask them to reapply, but you also have the privilege of deferring the application until such time as the necessary information is turned into staff, not deferring it to a time certain, but deferring it pending further report from the staff that the applicant has turned in sufficient information that would enable them to possibly reach a different recommendation.
I like that option. Scarlett, have you had an opportunity to reach out to the applicant and request the information?
Oh,
Do you
yes,
feel like there's
absolutely.
been sufficient time for that?
Yes, we did.
I have the information she's looking for right here. We was in clear communication with her. The problem is the pool contractors. Oh, Junior, 188 Northwest 89th Street. The pool people did their own application, their own plans. So my architect, you know, my architect said that's not his fault. And then that's why I sent, I think, to Kimberly, all the pool information. And I had to get this at around 5 o'clock today so he can add the pool, the driveway, and all the specifications on this updated site plan.
Okay, so it seems like you have new information. And Scarlett, I don't want to put you on the hook to have to decipher this information
No,
in real
right,
time.
no.
So
And-
maybe a wise thing would be to defer this until you're able to get with the applicant and see whether or not what he's providing is sufficient.
That sounds great. And just so you know, we have to have all of our information together like a week or more before this meeting. So if it's not available to us, you know, in a timely way, then we don't have enough time to do our evaluation.
Of course, this I understand.
We apologize. It was last minute. We
Yeah.
thought we had all the situation. These plans are approved. So that's the problem we have in this plan. These plans are approved. The home is built. It's finished.
I understand
So
this.
now it's how you guys approve something that no longer is efficient. So that's why it took so long to revise them. But we have the revised site plan, and all additional information she may need, I'll be able to give it to her.
Well,
as soon as possible.
I think deferring this would be a wise thing to do so you guys can get together. It seems like we're on the path of resolution. So can we just go ahead and defer this item? How do I do that? Do I just say that it's deferred? Motion to defer this item.
I'll make a motion to defer the item, Madam
Do I
Chair.
have a second?
I'll second.
Madam Clerk?
Member Nickerson?
Yes.
Vice Chair Perella?
Yes.
Chair Martin?
Yes.
Motion passed.
All right, we'll see you at another time. And we'll move on to item G3. This is 286 Northeast 87th Street. Can I have the applicant step up to the podium and state their name and address? Sir? And state your name and address for the record, please. Oh, sure, take your time. Take your time. While the applicant is setting up, can I go ahead and get staff's
Definitely, yes.
recommendation?
Okay, yes, this applicant is J. Ruben Jimenez, and they are requesting site plan approval for an addition and renovation of a new residence. In addition to site plan approval, they're asking for 3 variances. One is to convert an existing carport into a living space. The second is to construct a wing wall that would exceed the 6-foot height limit, and that would be by 1 foot 7 inches. And the third is to reduce the distance that's required between 2 driveways, which the requirement is to be less than 50% of the frontage, and they're requesting a 25-foot separation for their 2 proposed driveways. The lot is a total of 9,572 square feet, and the house currently is 1,338 square feet in size, and it's 1 story, which was built in 1940. The project consists of the complete renovation of the existing 1-story house, including the roof, floor slab, and interior configuration, and also a 400 square foot rear covered patio. The granting of the site plan approval as presented is in harmony with the general intent and purpose of the comprehensive plan, and the proposed architecture is compatible with existing residential architectural character within the village. The granting of the variances as presented is in harmony with the general intent and purpose of the code, because there is 2 parking spaces in addition to the carport, so they would have room for their 2 required parking. They also propose to replace their carport with walls and windows that would match the design of the existing windows and the main facade of the residence. The proposed height of the wall is minimally taller than allowed by code, and it also would further the architectural theme. And the distance between the 2 driveways is still compliant with the intent of the code in that it will allow for a mature tree to remain in place, and that will contribute to the street canopy. Therefore, approval is recommended for these 3 variances and for this site plan to allow for this renovation of this residence.
And thank you so much for that staff report. I'll go ahead and open it up to the audience if anyone has a comment on this item. Hearing none, I'll bring it back to the council. Does anyone on the council have a question for either staff or for the applicant? No?
No.
Okay, I do have a question about that wall. If it says 6 feet in the code, how do we veer away from that? What is considered minimal?
So it's a foot and 7 inches taller than the 6 feet. So it's 7 feet 7 inches.
But why do we select 6 foot as the limit, and why would we vary it all from that if that's what it says in the code?
I believe that it has to do with the consistency with design of the home.
Okay.
And Camila may.
I think Camila,
she,
yes.
She
Camila's
actually,
going to step to the podium.
did speak with the applicant on this particular issue. So
Awesome.
That would be helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Scarlett. Good evening, committee members. I just want to speak to this because it's part of the code. This part of the code only refers to wing walls, and the reason why a variance is required is so that the council can vet the design, and so that when someone proposes a wing wall, which is usually greater than 6 feet, but it can't go higher than the roof, so that the council has the opportunity to vet the design and that they don't propose just a blank wall or something that wouldn't be in line with the character or consistent with the house architecture.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that 6 foot limit isn't for any sort of health, safety reasons. It's just, this gives us an opportunity to just look at it and make sure that it suits.
And it's,
Okay.
and it's also like a second setback kind of thing, right? So technically, they can build a wall up to the roof if they want to stand the house up to 5 feet setback, pretty much, that wall. Because it's aligned with the wall, the house wall.
Yes, as a wing wall, exactly. It would be aligned with, typically in line with the building facade.
Thank you so much, ladies. So that's all of my questions. I don't think my colleagues have any additional questions, correct? Okay, do I have a motion to accept staff's recommendation and approve this item?
Motion to approve, Madam Chair.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Madam Clerk, can I have a roll call?
Yes.
Vice Chair Perella,
Yes.
Chair Martin.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
Awesome, congratulations.
Perfect. Thank you.
All righty. And you spent all that time setting up. We'll move on to item. It really is beautiful. Huh? Oh, there's a second hearing. Excuse me. Perfect. The clerk will step down and let you know about the second hearing. We'll move on to item G4. This is 1XX Northeast 89th Street. Can I have the applicant step up to the podium? Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Carlos Bordagna. The address is 102 Northeast 89th Street.
Okay, awesome. Can I have staff's recommendation on this item, please?
Thank you. The applicant, George Formento, is requesting a site plan approval for construction of a new residence located in the 100 block of Northeast 89th Street. The site is a lot that consists of 6,961 square feet, and it is currently vacant. The proposed residential use is permitted within Chapter 24, and the proposed home is to be 2 stories and will be a total of 2,931 square feet. The home was reviewed under the development standards of the code and found to be consistent, and they are requesting no variances for this home. The proposed design for the new residence represents a contemporary architectural style. While it varies from the more traditional styles found within the homes in El Portal, the proportions and the scale of residence are compatible with the neighborhood homes. And for that reason, it is recommended by staff that this new construction for this 2-story home is approved.
Okay, thank you so much. I will open it up to the audience at this point. Does anyone have a comment on this item? Hearing none, I'll bring it back to the committee members. Does anyone have a question for staff or for the applicant on this item? All right. Councilman Perella?
Yes.
Vice Mayor
As
Perella.
far as, thank you, Madam Chair. Camila, and this question will be for Camila because we've been talking about the tree surveys and making sure that we get a DERM survey for properties that are vacant and or getting, adding to the house or remodeling the house just to make sure that the trees that are there are staying or are not, compromised by the design or by the construction of the house. In this case, the house has a humongous Pinus eliotis right in front of the property.
Yeah.
And it's probably over 100 years old.
Yeah, we love the tree.
Yes.
We keep
Okay.
it.
You're the owner?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Congratulations.
Thanks.
And just so you know, FYI, it's right across from my house.
All right.
So I
He'll
know
be
that
watching.
I know the tree. I know the tree. So and it's been a concern for all the neighbors
Okay.
actually around the property
All right.
about that particular tree. So
Yeah,
just
we
make
love the
sure
tree.
that
We did a couple surveys, and the tree is one out of 3 in Florida, and it's the biggest one in Florida.
yes.
So we're gonna keep it. We're not gonna touch it. We actually redesigned the front of the house to walk around the tree. We pushed the house a little bit back.
Right.
There is a huge tree in the back. It's an oak, and it's got an avocado tree inside, so it's kind of
Splitting
opening
it off, right.
Splitting it off. So we're gonna sacrifice that one tree with an arborist letter and all the legit, and we're gonna keep this one, the pine tree. The Dade County pine,
Right.
untouched.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Beautiful design.
Thank you.
It is a very beautiful design, and thank you so much for being so careful with the tree because, I think the house will end up being way cooler contemplating like walking around that to get in
Yeah,
there.
it's gonna be cool.
Yeah.
We created a little angle.
Yeah.
And so you're gonna be able to see the entrance. And then we had an issue with the double car garage. We
Mhm.
made a 1-car garage to meet the 30% of the facade. So I think it should be ready to go.
Awesome. Well, I don't think we have any additional questions for the applicant, correct? So do we have a motion to accept staff's recommendation and approve this item?
Motion.
Do you have a second?
Second, Madam Chair.
All right, Madam Clerk?
Roll call. Member Nickerson.
Yes.
Vice Chair Perella.
Yes.
Chair Martin.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-0.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, we will move into subsection H, which is the last good and welfare of the evening. If anyone has a comment at this time, you can step up to the podium, and you have 3 minutes to say whatever you would like. But be sure to state your name and address before you say whatever you would like. Does anyone want to do a last good and welfare? Gentlemen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Joaquin Pinedos. I live in 440 Northwest 90th Street. We are general contractors and developers, so we kind of enjoy coming here and seeing that the village is developing so well. Just a couple of things to notice is that as the village grows, I've been living here for the past 12 years, and I love it how it has become one of the best places to live in Florida. It's a concern also, I have 2 little girls, that speed is becoming a greater issue. So I understand that some of my neighbors have already got in touch with you, and we want to see, or would like to see, very kindly that measures are taken down the road to protect kids and families that, as we grow, we enjoy coming outdoors, jogging, walking the dogs, riding bikes, but certainly that street on 86 coming up on 3rd Avenue has become, and 5th Avenue has become a speedway for a couple of youngsters that live around the area, and they drive Camaros, high-speed cars, Corvettes. I know that the police has been chasing down those guys, but is there any options? I don't know if those streets are FDOT, if they are Broward County. I know we deal with this in our developments. When Joseph, actually, I met him on a project. We are developing a hotel in Virginia Gardens. So I know that it's a challenge always to deal with the county, with FDOT and the cities, but is there something that we could implement, that measures that can be, dictated to protect? And also, I'll let you speak. And also,
they obviously have some really good answers for you. They both.
No, I know he has done his homework.
Yeah.
And also, something that I've been discussing with the neighbors that is planning and zoning, unfortunately, is not part of our village, but it's more towards Miami-Dade County. And it's that block around from 92nd Street, I believe, north, from 3rd, from 5th northwest to I-95. I think that's unincorporated, Miami-Dade County. But as the time passes, more properties have been like a lot of garbage, a lot of abandoned cars. Actually, I think there's a stolen car dropped in. It doesn't have wheels, and a bunch of houses that haven't been painted for years. I've been here for 12 years, so that brings like this kind of insecurity, because instead of the village doing, I understand that the village is doing a lot to improve quality life of the neighbors, but unfortunately that corner has become very bad, exposed. Is there any way that we can reach the mayor, or any party to help us control code enforcement? It's a lot of code enforcement. I've had to call several times for trucks being parked there that are not supposed to, people doing mechanic that are not supposed to, people dropping garbage that are not supposed to. So things too that we can, probably go ahead and help each other.
Yeah, Madam Chair, if I may.
Mr. Mayor, go right ahead.
I appreciate it. Thank you. All right, so let's tackle the last thing first. Yeah, it's interesting because when you get around there on the northwest side, you can tell when El Portal begins and across the street is not El Portal, which is sad, but unfortunately it's across the street, so it's still in your vision. You know, you can still see it, and you can still see the comparison. There have been a few times where there were cars that were abandoned or that had been stolen and dropped. And our police department, I would contact the chief or Major Harrison, and our police department would go over there, and then they would contact the county police department to get that removed. So the first thing I would say is, whenever you see anything like that, look, listen. People call me, and listen. At all, look. Let me tell you, 1 a.m., 3 a.m. She knows, because I'll get the calls, and I'll be like, I'll call Clerk Jacoby, like, check this out. Guess who just called me? This is going on, this is going on, this is going on. So I get calls from residents at all times. All right? I get calls from residents. Mayor, I hear something outside of my house. I think a man's outside of my house. I'm like, okay, call the police. I'll be up. I'll walk over there. I walk over to somebody's house at 3 in the morning. It'll be a peacock on the roof. So you can call me at any time. So I'm just saying it to say, so if you see something as far as a car, JR knows he can text me at any time, and I'll at any time, you guys, right? So I'll respond. So so if you see something like that, like a car that looks abandoned or something like that, call me or text me right away, so I can get the police to go over there and get them to call the county police department, so we can get it removed and towed, like, moved away. Perfect. When it comes to that. Yeah, as far as the general code enforcement, that would be something I'll reach out to County Commissioner Hardeman and just let them know. But it's difficult when it's not El Portal. You know what I mean? Just to put it shortly, it's difficult when it's not El Portal. Let me just switch really quickly to, but we'll work on that, and I will contact.
Is there
Commissioner
any way
Hardeman's
that we
office.
can settle a meeting with the neighbors
Well, what I'm going to do, I'm going to set up a meeting with the county commissioner. If you want to give me, do I have your phone number?
I don't think so, but
we
we'll
can
exchange. Yeah.
And I'll try to make it a Zoom meeting, and I'll bring you on to that meeting with me if you want to come on to that meeting with me, so they can hear firsthand what's going on. As far as the speeding, you've come at the perfect time. Last month, we just passed the first measure through resolution, Madam Chair, Vice Mayor Perella, to reduce speeding, to reduce the speed limit village-wide. And so that's the first step. If you guys, if you didn't know, we just got finished a couple of months ago finishing up the traffic study, right, which was a long time coming for El Portal. You know, residents have been asking for that for a long time. We finally got it done. So the first step to that, though, is the speed reduction. Step 2 going into 3 will be speed traffic calming devices. So first they're looking at the speed reduction, which we passed that resolution. But then once that's settled, as far as, what we're allowed to reduce down to, how much and things like that, then we'll come back and then we'll look at the speed, the traffic reduction devices. And that's when you guys ask about, well, what streets can have speed bumps, what streets can have this, and that. That's the first thing for all that. The second thing, though, is I have my wonderful Corporal Sinone. I have wonderful Officer Rodriguez. How you doing, Jack? Brand new Jack. What's going on, Jack? Hit the ground running. I have them in the back. And you've seen, some of the police presence over there trying to make a move over there. Yeah. But we have, a long time the problem was that we had brand new laser guns, speed laser guns, which you guys voted in through a consent agenda months ago. No taxpayer dollars, of course. But the problem we had, we couldn't implement those right away because to use the speed laser guns, our officers had to first be certified in them. Otherwise, if they would stop any car to give a speeding ticket, the court would throw it out. Look at the heads going up and down back there. The courts would throw it out because they weren't certified. So they had to be certified first to give the tickets. The problem is with the speed certification, it doesn't come every month. They show up like once a year, right? So we had to wait, and I believe we're getting a couple of the officers have been certified, and we're getting a couple more certified because those classes for certification don't come often. So once that's done, you're going to see a drastic change with both of those things taking place simultaneously. with the speed, the village-wide traffic study, all those things starting to be implemented, and with these certifications that are now coming into play, you're going to see a more aggressive attack on speeding throughout our community.
The traffic study has been completed.
Traffic study's been completed, but then once traffic study was completed, now we take out the elements from the traffic study because we have to pass through resolutions because we have to get the approval from the county to be able to change these streets because we don't own the streets.
Right.
So the traffic study's completed, so that's great. And the first step we did last month was we did a resolution to reduce the speed limit village-wide. That was the first step coming out of the traffic study.
Understood.
So all this stuff is going to come together, plus what's going on with the officers with the certification with the speed guns. You're going to start to see a more aggressive attack on speeding with everything that's going to start coming through.
Just to chime in, and actually, out of the traffic study, the requirement, one of the requirements that the request to Transit Miami Transit Department was the speed bumps. 90th and Northeast and Northwest 90th Street is one of those streets for speed
Excellent.
bumps.
Excellent.
Yeah. So that was one of the first requirements for a few streets based on the results of the traffic study.
Very
so
good
we're
news.
working on that. Yes.
Yeah. And I think just to add very quick, now that the village has grown and it's becoming, we love to see develop all these new projects. We are excited to see more businesses coming. But we don't have any sidewalks around the village. So
That's another project.
Exactly, no, step by step, I know. But the existing ones are broken because of the trees. Any plans in the future to take care of those sidewalks?
Yeah, all right, so there's a couple things happening. Myself and the village manager, we had a meeting last week with Commissioner Hardeman's office because the county is about to have, look, as a matter of fact, I was doing the work right now. The Miami-Dade County budget hearings. I was just doing that work. So the county budget hearings are September 8th and September 20th. We just submitted last week. We had a long meeting with Commissioner Hardeman's office, and we just submitted what we want in the county budget for El Portal. And one of the first things that we said were repairing of the existing sidewalks and the extension of the sidewalks on 87th from Northeast 2nd going west.
Makes sense.
And the extension of those sidewalks. So that was one of the first things we had on the list of an ask for the county budget coming up fiscal year 2024. So we have it there. I mean, a lot of things just funding. You know, we try to do everything, no taxpayer dollars if we can. If we had the funding, we go ahead and do it, but we put it in there. And we actually put that in there because it's interesting because when we were putting it in there, the first thing, and she didn't do anything wrong, of course, you know, I love my manager. The first thing that Manager Alou put in was more septic to sewer conversion. And I said, well, Manager Alou, I said, I don't know, I said, but a Manager Alou,
is that
I
happening
don't know if
soon?
we let out that we're already getting millions from Levine Cava. We know that. But I said, Manager Alou, I said, let's put in some of our smaller projects as our first ask. I said, because if we put in something that's so large and we say that's our first ask and it's so big that they might not give it to us, you know, I said, then they'll just shoo away everything else. So at least let's put like some of the things that are, you know, are more realistic that we could probably get in the county budget. And let's try to get like number 1, 2, and 3. And then number 4 might be the sewer conversion that we might not get, but that's something that we ask for all the time and we never get anyway, right? We've been asking for that for decades and we never got it anyway through the county commissioner's office.
And
you know?
that's why, from my understanding, that's why the village has been holding into the sidewalk project and all of that, because if once the septic to sewer, if it's gonna happen, they're gonna tear down all the streets. And
Right.
then they have
Yeah,
to be
that
redone.
makes sense.
Right.
Yeah. Is that septic sewer conversion coming soon, or is it approved, or is still on the works?
We have funding. I'll be doing a speech at my State of the Village address on September 30th, Saturday, September 30th, at the Information Exposition. We have funding coming in for a large portion of, a significant portion of El Portal for septic to sewer conversion. And Mayor Levine Cava has blessed us. Shout out to Mayor Levine Cava. She has been wonderful. And we do have even, and you guys heard tonight that we even have private businesses who are implementing. They didn't go into it in detail. JR is going to hear it right now. They didn't go into it in detail, but at one point, so there was so much going behind that, you guys. At one point, they were going to pull out of the entire project because they're on septic tanks. And I mean, they're on septic tanks. And we were like, well, you shouldn't pull out of the project, but you should look to do something to add on to it. So we got them connected with some of our lobbyists and some of individuals who we know who are lobbyists in Tallahassee, and they connected them with Miami Shores, you guys, and that's how that came to be. So what they're going to be doing is they're going to be extending the sewage from Miami Shores down through Northeast Second, and they're also going to have it to where at the other streets the connections are going to be there already. So when the businesses move in, they can just plug in, and they're doing that at their dime. That new property that we just spoke to earlier, they're doing that at their dime. Along with things like I said, just a little side note. Sorry, Madam Chair. Just a little side note. Like I said, you guys, at one point they were going to knock down like 6 huge trees in that property, and even with putting the trees, putting the I think it was, what was it, 5 on 87th and the 3 that you put on 88th with the side parking or whatever. Even with that, that's 5 spaces. You guys have no idea how the main woman that's over that project. Her name is Tracy Story. She wasn't here tonight. She wasn't here because myself and the village manager, we've been in shouting arguments with her. Because she was like, at one point, she was like, we'll just knock down all the trees because we need like those 20 additional spaces. Right. We got them down to 5. They're still missing 15 additional spaces and keeping up all the trees that are, 80 years old that are on that property. I'm just saying that just to say that, so there's different elements that we all try to have these relationships with all of these different organizations and aspects going around everywhere, so that we can keep El Portal, but still bring like septic to sewer conversion, still bring the changes that we need, but still maintain the tranquility of what El Portal is. So it's coming. Things are coming. We find crazy ways to make it happen, like what's happening with that property. They're pulling it down on their own dime.
The designs have already been approved, or the funding is coming and it's pending to start the design?
Yeah, for that private property, or for us?
For us, for the septic to sewer conversion. Do we have designs already by engineers?
The designs were already done because we were going to do it and fund it. We were going to do it through a grant that we were going to have to pay back 50% of every dollar. But then Mayor Levine Cava called me one Sunday night. And I think I remember I told you guys about that. Called me one Sunday night and was like, Mayor, like we'll fund that aspect of it, so we don't even have to. Yeah. So
there's already engineer designs for the
all the
septic
designs
to
were
sewer
all of it's done. Yeah.
So what's pending for that to start?
The $30 million.
Only?
Well, we have a large portion that Mayor Levine Cava gave us, but it's just getting just breaking ground, just going through the construction phases. Everything's done as far as the plans, but it's just breaking ground and going through
so
all that.
So there's funding, but there's funding missing.
There's funding, but there's funding missing for village wide.
Okay.
Understand, but phase one, we're pretty good though.
Got it.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you so much for your comment. We appreciate you.
I appreciate it.
Awesome. Does anyone else have a comment? Hearing none, I will go ahead to subsection I, which is adjournment. Do I have a motion to adjourn the Planning and Zoning Committee meeting?
Motion to adjourn, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, great job by the way.
Thank you so much. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Madam Clerk, I think all in favor, say
aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Say nay. All right. Adjourning the Planning and Zoning Committee meeting for Tuesday, June 13th at 7:49 p.m.
Perfect. And Vice Mayor, great job as always.